That's okay. We're excited to be talking with Jen Powell today from Jen Powell Inc. and just learning about how you got into the business and ultimately to be leading all these influencers to their great success. So we want to hear all about it.
Thanks for having me, Joyce. Well, it's been a journey. I mean, I started in San Francisco probably 20 years ago now. I dropped out of college and I didn't know what I was doing and was working at restaurants, and I ended up interning at a modeling agency. And I was working there. I was working with the girls, and before you knew it, like I was doing all of the accounting and I was assisting and I was booking and I was kind of doing everything and like really loving it and really loving fashion. Whereas before, like I wasn't really that interested in fashion ever. And it kind of like lit this fire in me. And that was in the 90s, and the .coms burst in the 90s in San Francisco. And so my agency closed. So I called the biggest agency in San Francisco and I said, I'm an agent and I need a job. And they brought me in, and I ended up getting hired at Look Models in San Francisco. And I was there for 4 years on the women's board. And then almost 13 years ago, I was brought to Los Angeles by Next Models. And that's, I was on the women's board for years there. And that's kind of where my journey with influencers started. And so about 10 years ago, a girl named Rumi Neely came to me. She had a site called Fashion Toast. And she had told us, like we sat down with her and she said, you know, I have this photo diary. And people send me clothes and I wear them and I shoot them and I put them on my photo diary, and then I write a little bit about the clothes, and then I link out to the e-commerce site and things are selling out. And she said, I think that I maybe should get paid for this.
Discovery of a new business.
And I'm like, well, that's interesting. You're selling things, you're responsible for the sale of product. Yeah, that's probably worth some money there, and it's the kind of the point, you know, what's valuable with retailers. So what happened was I was working with them, with all the retailers, with the models, and I was selling the models, and then I would say, oh, well, have you considered this kind of talent? Like, you could send her the clothes, she shoots it herself, she posts it on her photo diary, and it sells out. It's amazing. And a lot of the retailers were starting to kind of take a chance, because I'd been an agent for so long, I had a relationship with the brands for so long, that they trusted me enough to give it a try, throw a little money at it, and see what happened. So,
how did you decide like how much to charge? like I love it. It's like, and now we know what influencers are all about, but I think like at that time it's very experimental. Basically, you're hearing somebody, you know how like you think you know your job, and then people come to you and they're like, well, I have this idea, and you're just like, no, you just give it. You know, I know this idea. I've been to this party before, but obviously like you heard something and you monetized it. Like how did you turn it into that?
Honestly, based everything on model rates. I based her shooting and posting on a model rate. So, you know, if a girl, like if I was selling a model for $5,000 a day for Urban Outfitters or an e-commerce site, then I would just take that money and apply it to what Rumi was doing and see if they paid it. And sometimes they pay it, and sometimes they would not, but I'd get something for it. And so it was a lot of trial and error. It's only, things like that are only worth what people are going to pay for them, right? So, so it was trial and error is my answer, I think. But everything was kind of based on how much money I knew the brands had, because I was already booking models for them.
Right.
So it was realistic, and I knew it was achievable, and it wasn't like I was just pulling like numbers out of thin air. It was somewhat educated-ish.
I've been in a lot of those positions before where it's like an ish. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to try it anyway.
Just try it. Yeah. Trial and error. So we started, she started making money from this. And then I was reached out to by a girl named Chiara Ferrani and her boyfriend Ricardo, and at the time they were living in Milan, and she had been sitting front row at shows at some of the luxury, the shows in Milan, and she knew what I was doing with Rumi, and she wanted to come to the United States and see if we could do the same thing with her in the United States. And she had the website, The Blonde Salad, and so out of respect for Rumi, I went to her and I said, you know, would you mind if I also handled a similar talent, but she's different than you? And Rumi said, of course, absolutely. And so we brought Kiara to the United States, and that went really well. it was bananas. And she was able to connect with the American audience. She actually did this really great road trip through the U.S. and she put it all on all of her social media and her blog. And at the time, Instagram was fairly new, and she had like 350,000 Instagram followers. But she became relevant, I think, in the U.S. more because she did this road trip that was very like Americana road trip.
Right.
So after that, we ended up doing a really big capsule collection with Steve Madden, actually. I think it was 9 pairs of shoes and like 3 colorways each. And it was a great moment for her and on a commercial level in the US. And it made her, you know, it was a great PR moment too.
Wow.
So that was cool. And, you know, for the longest time, Next wasn't super supportive, or maybe didn't understand exactly what I was doing. And to be quite honest, like I didn't really understand what was happening either.
Right, but you saw like a shift and you were capitalizing.
Yeah. But what I did know is that this is really powerful. It's powerful. What they're doing is super powerful. They can convert, they can sell things. So I knew that we had something, like we were on something. And so then I got girls like Christina Bazan and Sincerely Jules and Bernstein from We Were What and Gala Gonzalez, and kind of all of the first fashion influencers all kind of started flocking to me and to us at Next in Los Angeles. And pretty soon these girls were making more money than the models I was handling. So Next came to me and said, would you consider just booking these girls and it being like a special bookings sort of category that you'll be running? And so it became something after a while. And you know, fashion's old. It's an old business.
Yeah, totally old school. Yeah.
You know, so it took a long time for this. It took a long growth. It was not overnight by any means. It was, like I said, it's trial and error, and it took a while for, I think, all of us to feel confident enough for me to walk away from booking models and to just really immerse myself in this world and trying to figure it out and building that business.
Building trust is a huge part of all of it, right? Building trust is like what allows you, even as an employee somewhere, to break off and create a department.
Yep.
And also just that trust between you and the client to try something new together. How do you foster that trust or the relationship with people? Like, I know I met you and I was like, oh, my best friend. Clearly, so
felt
quickly.
The same way.
Yeah, but
it's all my whole career, and I think a lot of different careers. We're based on relationships. It's about relationships. That's actually my favorite part about what I do. Right. Whether it be the client, whether it be the talent, whether it be, I mean, it's just all been relationship based. And I think that being in the industry for so long and starting at the very, very bottom, being an intern and kind of working my way up, by the time I got to a position where I had a little bit of power, it was like I came up with all of these people that were also in positions of power too. And I think it was like just being humble and learning from other people and just feeling like I was in it together with the clients. I was in it together with the talent, and we were just going to experiment and together. And I think it's just the relationships are what I thrive on.
Yeah.
And it's what's so meaningful, and that's why I love what I do. It's all about relationships.
Did your family support you through kind of your transitioning in jobs, or kind of at the different places in your life when you were?
Well, I think my mom didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah, she's like, what is that? What are you doing?
I still wonder if she really knows what I do. But it was interesting because I think it was like 8 years ago, Bloomberg actually reached out to Next because they saw my girls front row at shows. Like people were talking, maybe it was 6 years. People were talking about who they were, why they were sitting next to the editors and things like that. And so that was a real shift in people understanding what I was doing and such. And at that moment, my brother-in-law at the time, his boyfriend said to me, he's like, this could really be a niche for you. Like this is a turning point. And he actually said that to me, that this is something that's different. This is a differentiator from what you do to what everybody else is doing, and people are realizing it. And I mean, you're on Bloomberg, like
Big deal,
meaningful
now.
And I still was like a deer in headlights, like with my eyes this big, like I don't know really what's going on. But something clicked in that moment. I'm like, no, something really special is happening here, and people are starting to recognize that it's important. And so I just kept on forging on to what felt right. And I think that my family has been super supportive, and they actually were the ones that pushed me out to go on my own.
Oh, wow.
It was scary. It was really, really scary, especially, I mean, I felt so safe in a modeling agency, in the structure of knowing where my paycheck was going to come from and like all of those things. But really, they knew that I was no longer happy, and what I did no longer belonged inside of a modeling agency. And they heard the trials and tribulations of where I felt I needed to grow. And they just and they're like, we don't want to hear about this for one more minute. You need to make some changes. What is the life you want to lead?
Right. I mean, you obviously built a beautiful life too, simultaneously,
Yeah.
You had a son.
Yes.
You were able to, get that piece going, and that's a huge piece. Do you turn off when you go home and you hang out with your son? Are you able to, or is it like one thing that you're able to kind of, it's a question. It's like such a relevant question. When I see you, I'm like, do you turn off when you go home?
Oh my gosh, Joyce. I try. This is what I strive for. And it's not just turning my phone off, it's turning my brain off and being able to lock in and be present. And it's the biggest challenge I think I have as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a mom. I find myself, he's sitting in the passenger seat. He told me about his day, and I didn't hear any of it. And I was like, actually, can you start over? And I find myself doing that because my brain is going so fast. I'm thinking about 14 different things, but this little guy needs my attention. And in making this transition from working a real 9 to 5 and then being able to have flexibility with my schedule, I committed to him to pick him up at 3 p.m., to take him to basketball every day. And that's kind of our precious time together. And I really do try to lock in with him, put my phone down, play some one-on-one with him, basketball in the backyard, and focus on him. But it's a struggle.
It's a struggle. I know, when you work for somebody, you feel like, oh, well, if I have my own thing, then I can manage my own hours.
Oh.
And it ends up being the biggest lie in the world, because, I know me, I'm cooking dinner, rocking a kid, and composing an email in my mind. And then my mommy and my daughter looks at me, she's like, are you praying? And I'm like, no, I'm working. I'm I may be cooking and rocking, but I'm for sure not here.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
It's a big, I think it's a big one for all of us in general. It's you want to do everything. You want to advance these girls' career, because in some ways they're your children too.
That's right. That's right. I feel a huge responsibility to them too. And they also took a chance on me by leaping with me. Right. And so it's I feel I need to be present for him first. And then when I'm with the girls, I'm locking into that one. And then the next one who needs my attention. And then the next one that needs my attention. And that's a struggle. That's a struggle.
Do you do anything for you? You're no.
That's also a goal. Actually, my son went on a cruise earlier this summer with his grandfather, and in that time, I checked myself into the We Care spa.
Oh no, you did?
For a week.
Good for you.
I did. I've never done anything like that before, but in that moment, I knew that I was running on just fumes.
Yeah.
And I needed to kind of regroup, and I was able to work from, in Palm Desert, so I still was grinding away. Yeah. But I also was meditating every day, and I was doing this juice cleanse, and I was swimming, and I was outside, and I was doing some of the spirituality classes and things that they you know, their vegan cooking classes and things like that. But that was for me. I was there by myself. It was pretty incredible.
Did you make friends?
I did.
Yeah.
Everybody makes friends. They're in like their robes, and we're all in like this community kitchen, and it's just so, it's like an alternative universe. But I kind of came off of that with like a fresh lease on like what I need my life to be. I mean, that was that like 1 year of entrepreneurship and owning my own business, and like I feel like this frantic year came to a close, and now I need to move forward and figure out the life that I want to lead and find balance.
It sounds like you're already doing it in so many ways, but yeah, it's always it's always the balance.
I'm trying. You know, after we had lunch that one day, I felt so inspired by what you said to me. And I mean, it's not just you as a woman entrepreneur or as a mother or any of those things, but you told me that you turn off and observe Sabbath.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I'm like, where are my boundaries?
Yeah.
Where do they lie? And it was like this switch up in my head as well. And trying to figure out where my boundaries lie and like what I need to do for me and my son and my business too. And everybody's going to win in my relationship and whatever.
You know, I have like, it's so funny because people say that to me all the time. They're like, after I heard that you keep the Sabbath, like I did this or I did that. And then they'll come back to me and they'll report like, but it was still really hard, or like that person really didn't understand, but I kind of am always like, you know, if I can blame it on like God, I'm like, God told me to keep this up. I'm like, you have a complaint, go to the complaint department.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, I think that it's so mighty and it's so sure that, and it's so confident that you can turn off. And I think like a lot of times when people in our position, working mothers, they try and turn off, we still have like a lot of guilt around it.
100%.
Like you're like, I turned off, but like I know I need to answer that email, and I turned off, but like if I don't do that, then how am I going to hold up the livelihood of my family? And like all these things come up, and like an overwhelming sense of guilt too, like taking care of yourself and all of these things. And I always say like guilt can be really good. Like if guilt pushes you to know what's right and wrong, if guilt pushes you to do something good for yourself, but it's like, it's also really, really important to set like that strong boundary and be 100% cool with it.
You're
like
absolutely right.
Really be cool with it. And know that like, hey, if you had stomach flu and you really couldn't get to your phone, like you couldn't get to your phone, you know, but it's like, it's always hard to know when you can and you're choosing not to really sit with it and be 100% okay with it, even if you miss it.
Yeah.
Because there's also a part of us, I think, that loves the work that you do. Like you said, you love the relationships.
Such an addiction. It's like, it's crazy.
You love it. You love it. And it's, you grew something really special, and you did it with people that you value them. Yeah. Like you said, they took a leap of faith with you. You took a leap of faith with them. And you guys built something really beautiful together, and you don't want to see it like wilt or, you know, always trying to prop it up and make it amazing.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so special.
It is. But I think you're right. I mean, have you gotten to a place where you're able to be okay with like letting the emails go and just letting everything go that one and be totally and completely present?
I think I have to, because of the level of involvement that I have with everything that I love, including my work. And I really love my work, and I can really say it like, people are like, yeah, you know, I do my work because I know growing up in an immigrant family, it was always like, my parents used to tell me like, we work because we have to work. And I'm like, no, you worked because you had to work like 5 years ago, but now you kind of came to a level where you never have to work again. So stop telling me I'm doing it for you. You know, like, tell me the truth. You love it.
Right.
You love it. And you know, and I think when your children look at you and they're comfortable with you being comfortable, that you love it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all groovy.
That's right.
But you have to like, I don't know. I just think like the most peaceful thing I can like bring up with it is like, you just have to be at peace with like loving it and loving it so intensely and doing everything that you do with great care and great love. And then when you don't do it, also build yourself a life that you love that stuff too.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, completely.
Because, you know, it's really easy to be like, oh, you know, this is driving me crazy. Like, oh, I don't want to look at that. So I'm going to just be busy over here.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes it's a good indicator.
Yeah.
Like maybe you should look at that and be like, well, maybe there is like some bonding I need to do with that person, or maybe I should spend a little time, maybe I should call my mom today, or my sister, the relationship that I'm not taking care of as well as I should, or a man in your life. Like we say, like dating all the time. I mean, I have so many friends who are so busy, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get to it. And I tell them, I'm like, you have to take the same care that you do with work. Like when you lose somebody really important in your company and you have to find somebody new, like you will stop at nothing. You will LinkedIn, you will call your friend at Nordstrom, you will, you know what I'm saying? You will search.
Yeah.
And sometimes girls are like, well, I haven't met anyone. I'm like, well, do you want them just to come and, like hit you over the head? Like,
how do you expect this to happen?
It might require a little work. It might require a little work.
Yes.
But it's good to work on all fronts because you want to bring up all parts of your life at the same time.
Yeah. That's right. And that, I think, is the part that's becoming more and more apparent that I need to work on. Definitely have a new relationship, and I'm definitely trying to be very precious with it too. So,
and that's amazing. Yeah, and that's amazing. And give it energy.
And yes,
give it time, and make it take up space, even if it feels like, like this is not what I do. Like I'm usually 90% work.
Yes.
And then is it okay that it's like only 60% work right now because you're, it's like building a house. You're doing the plans. You're doing the foundation. At some point, you're going to live in that house. At some point, you're not going to be building the house eternally. Yeah, sure. I know, like, there's some things I'd like to fix in my home, but I'm saying, like, at some point, the hard work kind of starts going down and it settles out. And I think a lot of people are scared of that, too. Just inviting a new flow.
Yes.
And kind of how do I shuffle them both?
Right. And I'm trying to figure that out now. And I think I'm starting to build the house.
You're building the house.
I'm building the house.
I love it. Invite me over.
Oh, you're going to be invited.
But isn't that like, I don't know, like when I see happy people, truly happy people, I say like they really struck a balance and they've found success on multiple fronts.
Agreed. And I want that. Like I feel like I will be successful when I'm happy across all fronts.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like that's one of the questions that I get with Success Redesigned or with just anything I do. It's like, people will be like, well, should I ask this wealthy person like what I should do with my business or my startup? I'm like, well, why don't you ask that really smart person who might not have been like case study, like successful, like billionaire, but he built a great infrastructure, on this thing. Like success is not always like arriving to somewhere where you were blessed with money.
That's absolutely right.
Because you see people who are very successful and do amazing things, and it might not be in the form of money, but I find, and I look at the most successful people, it's the people who like spread their success into everything.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. They like built a home in their work, and they built a home in a relationship with their kids, and they built a home in a relationship with their friends, and them and themselves, and their wellness, and their husband, or their, whatever it is, their boyfriend, their, but they are flowing through everything at like a really good pace.
I agree.
Yeah. And I know since I saw you last, like I see like as women we evolve so much. Yeah. Like from month to month, from week to week. Like we're always improving ourselves. Yes.
Yes.
But that's like super exciting that like everything is spreading.
It is. It's spreading.
It's spreading.
I'm feeling really happy, and I feel like I'm trying to just keep in front of what my industry is doing and my industry changes, and so I think that personally I'm just trying to, it's just, there's so much that's changed right now in what we do professionally too. I feel like you're right, we change every week personally, but it's also just
the world around us is changing all the time.
Yeah.
It's funny because you said about industry today, I was trying to be ahead of my industry. So like I took an hour, I'm like, let's do ahead of the industry stuff. But that's a huge thing, right? Yeah. Not just answering emails and doing what you usually do and putting an autopilot, even if it's successful.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of like, okay, that's working, great. But like, how do I get even ahead of that?
Yeah. What's next?
How do you kind of figure out what's next? Do you ponder on it? Do you kind of get an intuition about something and you follow it out? Like
I do. I think that actually, or people come to me and I'm curious naturally about different things that I'm seeing in our industry. And I think that AI and VR and all of these things are very interesting to me. And I think that we're kind of going in that direction. And I actually had a guy who's a very talented artist, he's a photographer, but now he's designing CGI models, which is really interesting. So now I'm like working with him and on the creation of a digital modeling agency and seeing where that goes. And I think I'm so conflicted being kind of like an old school fashion girl and loving the model, and I love the process and the bringing the girl up and then launching her and the whole thing. But I think that our world is changing so fast. And this girl, she's like I said, she's a CGI model. Her name is Shudu, and she's booking campaigns. She had like 3 pages or 4 pages a cover of Women's Wear Daily. Like, it's bananas what's happening. So to try to, like, I do get a gut, but to see where this business is going to go, I'm unsure of. But I'm curious about it, and I don't want to be fearful of it, and I want it to, because I don't think we have to be fearful of it, but I think that it's going to be part of what's changing in our world and in our industry.
I said it yesterday in my morning meeting at the office. There's this amazing parable that I heard in class last Tuesday, but basically he presents the idea that an elder is, what did he say? An elder is likened to an ape. And he goes further to explain that what does it mean an elder is likened to an ape? It basically means that when we are old, it's when we stop growing. And when we're old, we start cloning ourselves where we think our limitations are. And so we become an ape because we're just imitating ourselves.
Interesting.
So if you think of you where you're at in your business, like if you just do what you usually do and you become an ape, it's almost the spirit of non-growth.
Right.
But if you're like looking at some model that doesn't exist, that is building a campaign that surely exists,
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary, but I think part of really being an entrepreneur is being unsure a lot. Because then you're challenging yourself, right?
Yeah, completely. And it's scary and it's exciting at the same time. And I think the biggest thing that I learned by going through my experience at Next is not to be afraid of failure and to be able to pivot. And trial and error is the name of the whole game from the beginning for me. And you're right, like I want to continue learning. I'm super curious. Our world is changing, and I get so bored. I do. And that's what it comes down to. Like I get so bored when things are the same. And so I feel like for those reasons, I need to continue.
A lot of people that I hire, they have like a backstory. And I'm always fascinated by the most interesting ones and most deep ones, like the ones that I feel like are always up for the challenge. They always come from a background when they were young, like I was a professional figure skater or I was a ballerina. And I'm always fascinated because I feel like what you just said about pivoting, when you're 8 years old and you're at a ballet recital and you forget your moves and you just gotta pivot. It's exactly that. And I think in business, people are so stuck with, I'm just going to sit on this failure and ride it all the way through, because they can't be wrong. It's ego. It's a lot of things. But if you can say, like, for me, I love the idea of failing successfully at something, shoot, missed the mark. Whoops. They didn't like that style, but pivot.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that part of the problem that I had with my position in fashion previous is that fashion is scared of change, and it seems that they don't pivot very fast.
And it's so funny because they're so creative. They're supposed to be like the creatives, right?
Yeah. I'm like, can we just pivot and try something else, or like just like be nimble in any way? And it wasn't nimble. And I think that me going on my own now and then trying to figure out what this business is going to look like, I want to be able to be nimble and to be able to grow in who knows what direction. Like, I know I'm supposed to have like this business plan, an idea of where I'm going and what this is going to look like in 5 or 10 years. But the truth is, is that I don't know what it is going to look like. I think that I didn't know what it was going to look like before. I didn't know that this was going to happen. I was a very reluctant entrepreneur. Like I was very comfortable being an entrepreneur under the umbrella of my safety net, the agency, but I was really just like pushed by the world and by I was pushed by my family out the door. So
by the time you come up with a strategy, it's like sometimes the strategy changed.
isn't that right?
Yeah.
So
Because
like,
I've done that before. I've said, like, you sit with bankers or you sit with venture capitalists and they're like, well, what's your 5-year plan? You're like, what? This place is going to be a different place in 5 years. So, like, I have to, like,
yeah.
So maybe my plan is that I'm a strong entrepreneur and I have an idea of where we're going, but we're definitely going to take ways and get there in a totally different way.
Completely. And knowing that it's like the plan is going to be changing a million times and being okay with that, not being frightened of it. And I'm not a very good plan girl anyway. So this is like, this part is very comfortable for me, but also I was in London last week with the VC and them asking about like all the, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Should I think about this?
Maybe I should go home and think about it.
Or maybe I'm successful just doing it the way I am.
Yeah, which is, I am very happy with too.
Do you have a team or are you a one-woman show?
Well, right now I have an accounting team. I have IT. I'm hiring hopefully 3 people in the next before Fashion Week.
Wow. How do you choose who you hire? Is there something that you look for when you're hiring people? I
think I need somebody with either a business interest or business mind. I don't think I need straight fashion people, which isn't like I just don't want somebody to think it's like all glitter all the time because it's so not, like maybe 90% of it is not fancy, you know.
I know.
It's so such a very small part is like these girls sitting front row at Fashion Week and being fabulous and flying it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that there needs to be somebody that's really, really realistic and wanting to put the time in to learn from the very beginning. I find that a lot of kids that I talk to, they want to go from like 0 to 60 like within the year. And one of my friends told me that I was a 20-year overnight success. And I really like that because it's true. It's not like I just suddenly showed up and like had this business. It's time. It's a grind. And I put my time in and I still am not above doing all of the work because I actually have been doing all of the work. And I just need people that are wanting to put the time in because I am a very willing teacher. And I love that. I mean, I want to teach people how to do it my way. And so on one hand, it's a little bit selfish, but on the other hand, like I want them to learn from the very beginning and coming in kind of either assisting or even as a junior agent and then being able to eventually bring on their own talent and be able to nurture that talent and me being able to oversee and introducing them to people. Like I want them to grow too. So I think I've been through, a couple of maybe not the right fit, but I have a better idea of what the right fit is now for me. And I don't necessarily work in a traditional office right now. I work out of my house in the Soho house. And, but I think that if you're connected through, on a computer, you could work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I need motivated people that are trustworthy, that are getting their work done. So, but also have a big enough, they need to be able to dream too. Like if they want to try something, I want to be supportive. So I'm looking for a couple different things. We'll see. I'll have to update you in a couple months and tell you how it goes.
Communication is such a big part of that though, because I go through that too, where I'll hire somebody and then they'll say well, I wanted to try this thing and it's like, where did you feel that it wasn't okay to come up to me and ask me? Right?
Because so they're telling you this afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like I should be here by now, and I should, all this stuff, and I'll sometimes ask, did you really put in your heart? Did you put in really your heart and your time? And they're like, well, it's not my company. That's an answer I've gotten before, and I say to myself, wow. Every job I ever had, everything I've ever done for anybody else, even plan an event, I felt like it was my wedding day. I felt like it was my business.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it's a big factor.
Yeah.
So seeing that, there are people with that personality type, they're out there, but like, I think like those are the winners. Those are the ones that rise to the top, the ones that take everything really with their heart.
Yeah.
And like, you're like, I don't know, when we spoke the first time we met, and even to today, like I see like everything is really with heart.
Yeah.
Like even the way you care for your girls, or you build their careers, or you make the choices, or you say no for them.
Yeah.
It's not a no like ego, and it's not a no money, because you'd probably look at them and say like, this is a good thing, these are good people, this is a good company, it's going somewhere, let's take a risk on them.
Yeah.
But it's also like really like putting your heart in things.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, if I could give good advice to like a young person going into business, that's like, put your heart.
Absolutely.
Put your heart. Cookies taste better when you cook them with love. Did your grandma ever teach you that?
You're absolutely right. It's a big difference. And I mean, the pride that I had, even as like a baby agent.
Yeah.
In like, when one of my girls, I don't even know, would be put on auction for a show, it was like,
wow,
I won the Super Bowl. Like, I was just like, it was such an amazing moment for me too, personally. I was so like honored to be a part of it, and to be a part of like that journey. And I can't imagine being any other way.
Yeah, people have a hard time giving, and they think that when they give and a company uses their talent or something, that they were maybe sometimes robbed. And I always look at people and I always think to myself like, wow, you really gave them a good idea, and like, that's a big value. You made yourself valuable.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And I think also as a company owner now, I remember I was told once that I was expendable, and that like doesn't ever feel good. And for me, I think that the hardest part of being an entrepreneur so far is finding my team. And once I find, like, I want, you know who I want your girl. I want your
my girl.
Yeah. But once you find them, it's like, I can't wait to have the feeling where I'm like, I need you until the end of time, and I will make you happy. I promise I'll make you happy.
All I think about, like once a month, I'm like, I want to buy her a Chanel bag. I wanted this for her. But
and that's exactly like, I mean, I can't even tell you how like terrible it felt to feel like, she's just an agent, like easy come, easy go. But really, like,
you
now
are the company.
Oh yeah. 100%. And I can't wait to find that and help somebody feel like that too. It's like the way that I wish I would have felt.
And if you're humble, like I know so many years, I worked with my parents in so many years, even friends would tell me like, maybe now's a good time to go out on your own. And maybe now's and I was like, I'm just happy making, bringing them some successful ideas, and I'm happy seeing them work out. And I value the infrastructure. Like you said, like I value that my idea doesn't have to be me doing the entire thing, that the company helps me move that idea along. And I see their value.
Yeah.
I
totally get it. I mean, I understand.
Maybe that should be like the job posting for the people you're looking for. Like, do you want to feel like this company is your, do you want to work hard and learn? I'm like thinking like, how do we make a really compelling, like,
I feel like,
because if the girl, if it's not for her, she's like, oh, whoa, this company got a little weird.
That's how we sift through, like who the right girl is going to be, or the guy, who knows who it's going to be. But that's what I'm looking for. Like everything that I wanted when I was younger. And the opportunity to learn.
It's so good. And like you said, things just come.
Yeah.
When you kind of put an idea of what you want out there and you're really strong, it's the same thing in dating. It's like you're not settling.
Yeah.
Like, I will not settle. Like, this is what I want. And you know what? I want the cherry too.
That's right.
I want a guy who's great and can do this and can do that and who can love me and who can let me lead and who can this and who can that.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, he might not. But you're like, well, maybe he will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want coffee in the morning.
Yes.
So like, there.
Yes. And you know what? I'm willing to be that too to somebody else. Like even in business.
100%. Absolutely. It's very much reciprocal and reciprocated. And like, I also feel like there's something so amazing about having young energy around. Like,
totally.
I love working with people that are, well, younger than me, because first of all, I mean, even my son, I pick his brain. I'm like, tell me what's going on
I know,
YouTube.
mine is like, how come you don't have gift cards at your shop? I was like, what? Get out of here, you.
You're like, but hold on,
Yeah.
why don't I have gift cards?
Exactly. Or he told me this week, he told me like we had a sample sale and he's like, well, you also have other things in samples. I'm like, yeah, but it's called a sample sale. He's like, no, but if maybe some people aren't interested in samples, but they might be interested in new products. So I didn't say samples and new product. And I'm like, okay, like, buddy, like, he's definitely going to do my taxes for me. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, your son's, like, filled with great ideas.
Completely. And I want, like, the team that I bring on, especially this younger team, I want those ideas, like, bring them to the plate. Yeah. Let's make them happen.
Yeah.
And I certainly I'm not going to, I mean, my ideas are somewhat tapped. I've done them. I'm doing them. I'm still learning and curious, but that's what I think that is super exciting too.
And these new generations are amazing.
They
like
are.
I see my son searches everything on YouTube, and I'm like, you know, there's Google, and he's like, no, I want to like watch how it's done, and I want to I want to see a video, or they'll, you know.
That's how they learn things.
They learn things, yeah.
Yeah, my son, when I was gone,
like, you don't need a tutor, you have Google.
That's exactly right. Well, he changed an air filter while I was traveling with one of my friends who was watching him for the weekend, and he's like, I'm like, well, how did you change the air filter? He's like, I YouTubed it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the air filter in my house. So, I mean, they can do anything these days. Like, he's 11, and he's like, I can probably drive a car. I mean, he'd probably be just fine.
We could probably like download an app that could drive us car.
Oh, well, that's actually just, yeah. Well, you can certainly Uber.
We're thinking about ideas here.
Yes.
Like an app that drives my car.
That's right.
But it's amazing. It's amazing to watch you grow. Are there any like goals and dreams that you have like in your just life for business or for personal life and things that, you know, we'll watch?
I think that goal-wise for my business, well, I think that there's several different arms that my business is going to have. I think that there's, I want to be able to handle, well, of course, these influencers, but also help them build out their sustainable businesses. So I don't just want these kids to be doing like transactional work for a long time. I want them to be able to sit back on, you know, when they're done doing multiple Instagrams a day and to be able to have sustainable businesses that are running. So that's my goal. And I also want to participate in them. Like I want to be, I'm part of setting them up and I want to be a part of participating. I think, yes, completely. And so there's those sorts of things that I want. And I think that there's like a consulting arm of things that I love working with the brands, and I love things that seem so obvious to me. A lot of times they're not. And I didn't realize how much I know that they don't know, and I really love like imparting whatever wisdom I have throughout these last 10 years of working in digital. And then I think that I want to have a successful marriage. Amen. And maybe another baby.
Yes. I'm always on that train.
I know you are, girl.
I'm always pushing that train.
Well, I feel like maybe if I sit next to you, it'll happen for me. Whatever I do.
I feel like sometimes when I don't hear people calling me for a little while, I'm like, they don't want me to be like that annoying mother who's like, children. No.
I'm into it. I think that I'm into just all the good stuff. Like I don't like hard no's. Like I'm a yes.
Open. You're like open.
I'm open.
I know. I had a first son from a marriage, and then I was like, what are kids after this gonna look like?
Yeah.
And how's my kid gonna love it? And you know, and I think it's really beautiful. It's bringing them into a totally new journey. You know.
Yeah. Because he says to me, he's like, I don't need you to have another baby because I'm like, there's a laundry list.
Yeah.
And I think that just more love is more love. And I think that I think that he'll feel that. So yeah, I'm open to all of these things, and it's like just to see the journey that unfolds for me. I think.
The places you'll go, Jen Powell. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I love seeing you, and
I love seeing you.
This is beautiful.
I know. You make me so happy.
Thank you so much.